For today's presentation, brace yourself, CTF is coming, and most likely the CTF that Lucian is going to talk about is going to be in winter, and the well-known meme with brace yourselves, winter is coming, CTFs is going to be in winter, so CTF. No, yeah, this presentation is going to be in English. I wanted to do it in Russian, but I don't know Russian, so. Yeah, I don't know, why do I have this. Okay, so first of all, my name is Ciprian Bejean, as Anatol already mentioned. Yeah, I know I'm out of the, yeah, I know, boundaries. But I simply go by Chip. Also, today's topic, CTFs. So basically, it's what to do when you get bored. Play them or craft them, your choice. And disclaimer, no coffee was spilled in the making of this presentation. Like 2 years ago, I was a speaker at Security Espresso. I mentioned that I'm not a coffee addict, even though I'm hyperactive. Okay, so let's start with the presentation. First of all, who am I? Well, my name is Ciprian, almost 3 years in IT fields, more like IT security. Now threat analyst at Crowdstrike, also pizza lover, because pizza accepts me for who I am. And Mortal Kombat player, so if you play Mortal Kombat on PS4, please ping me after. I don't know how to call this, a CTF blacksmith. I'm the guy that crafts CTFs when I'm requested. My background in CTF is like DefCamp. I had 2 attempts, one for SecureWorks and the other for Crowdstrike. The other was for Besides Bucharest, which was the actual conference CTF. And yeah, I know I have a weird life. Man, I need friends. I know I have friends, but I need more. Those were the logos used for the DefCamp CTFs, the Ariadne thread and Down the Rabbit Hole, and the sticker for Besides Bucharest. It's kind of nice. I have them on my laptop. Also, preparation. Now, without further ado, what should we do in order to craft a CTF? How to prepare for it? I know that there's been presentations about how to do it, how long does it take, and usually an unwritten rule is like you have to prepare 6 months ahead of the actual event. But the thing is that 6 months, okay, is 6 months enough? What do you have to do to prepare or to be fully prepared to make sure that everything works? Because demo gods, and maybe it works on your machine, but that's not gonna stand up. Then you have to think about what tools would you use for that. Do you have everything? Well, do you have everything downloaded? Do you know how to use everything? Is any tool that you can use specifically for a certain flag in your CTF competition? Is there anything that you need to learn how to use? That's up to you. Stay up to date with the latest vulnerabilities. Well, that's, okay. Basically, that means use Twitter. Go on Twitter, see the feeds, use Fiddler, use whatever you want for the daily feeds to see exactly what happens on the IT world, hacking villages, and other vulnerability-related websites. Probably you guys know much more about this than me. So just stay up to date with the vulnerabilities, make sure that you know if there is any patch for that, or in case you see any interesting vulnerability, and this might be a point where you want to recreate that scenario and make it a flag in your competition. Play some other CTFs. I did that before I was a player, before being the crafter. So basically, playing the CTF is like giving you new ideas and making you realize what's actually on the plate for other companies, or maybe it's a third party that's organizing that CTF. You just participate or you just join, you just read the write-ups, you just want to see everything that's going on, you want to see what's repetitive, because you don't want to do something that's too common or too obvious to include in your competition. And yeah, think of some scenarios to be implemented, and that goes hand in hand with stay up to date with the latest vulnerabilities. And also make sure they are doable, because having an idea does not make it solvable. And yeah, unfortunately, that's the theory. What happens is like 1 or 2 weeks before the event, you realize that you still have like 80% stuff to be implemented, or at least to be decided what's to be implemented. Because, you know, time flies when you have fun, and vodka is something. Now, how to implement stuff, I already gave you a spoiler, like Google Vodka Stack Overflow and other websites, and even use your snippets Just like 10%. But Stack Overflow will nail it. And use different laptops. Yeah, that's a good point. This is a good advice because it works on my machine is not an excuse. Why? Because you develop on your machine, you test it on your machine, you then choose your audience and realize that it works only on your machine. That sucks. And then you might end up like this. You have to debug. 50% of the time you have to debug your own stuff. What happens? You find a bug, you fix the bug. Yay, now we have 2 bugs. Like this. Look again. We have 3 bugs. It happens. It's programming skills. Now, when it comes to implementation part, the actual implementation, not the theory, you have to choose the platform because you want to make sure that people can see the stuff, not just the plain text with some files to be downloaded. Melivora was a platform of my choice. There are many others, but if you hate your life, you can just Google them and use one that's already implemented and realize that 50% is not working, but the pages are there. The categories of choice, well, that's up to you. You have to make sure that you know what category should be implemented in your CTF. It's doable. Maybe it was not done before, or it was done rarely that year. You don't want to end up with a SQL injection. Like, yay, web category, we have it. We have a SQL injection. Yeah, that's like 10 seconds. Next. That's it. Then, yeah, level of madness. I didn't know how to name that. It's how complex every challenge should be. That comes with your experience or with the team that's crafting the flags experience. Because you can just be very good in Python, and you have to implement some web challenge, but your skills are kind of rusty at web stuff. And you do some research, you implement a SQL injection. From your perspective, not knowing web stuff, you think that that's the real deal, and then there comes a guy which is a web developer and says like, okay, that's in like 3-4 seconds, that's the first one, right? And in your case, it's the 7th, like almost hard enough. So you have to know your skills in order to apply the level of difficulty. You can play it very hard if you are like crypto lover, or you can do it super easy if you just use plain text encoders, your choice. Players' rules to be followed. I use that because it's a bit funny. I have the tendency to use the rules to hide some of the flags or some of the flags parts, some of the flags hints, clues, locations, whatever. Why? Because no one reads that. When you just access the platform, join, create an account, the email is not gonna work, so you're not gonna receive the email with welcome to our CTF game or whatever it is. Then you have to read the rules. Who reads the rules? Come on, everyone knows that when you get your account, when you get your login, you just jump straight into the categories to see what's available, to see what maps your skills, and then just start to play. But what if the flags are on the rules? And the rules are saying like, hey, I know, only red t-shirts allowed. You don't know that because you didn't read it. Then some of the rules said, might be in MD5 format, might be in SHA-256, whatever it takes. But probably you didn't know that because you have the tendency to believe that the flag has the format like flag dash and something in curly brackets, which basically it's a SHA-1 or SHA-256. So being the guy that actually creates the CTF, it's your choice, and basically it's your idea of how the flag format should be. In my case, was in flag-MD5. Then scoring mechanism, I mean, that's something that has to be there. I didn't come up with this idea. It's just something that needs to keep order in the chaos because there are like 70 players and only 3 of them are actually playing, but you don't know exactly which one is the first or which one was the first one to capture some flags, and then you have to implement a scoring mechanism to make sure that the winner is the one with the highest amount of points, but there were the case when there are 2 players with the same amount of points, so the timestamp of submission was the differentiate variable in this case. Languages, and I'm not talking about English and Romanian. What languages should you use both for implementation or solve the flags, the challenges? C, C++, C#, Python, or if you hate your life, assembly. Come on, it's a nice language. Yeah, yeah. And also a solver. That's something that I didn't have in the past because I didn't quite see the utility of it. Because I really thought that the challenges are doable. That's why. But now I have one, but only for the challenges that are actually solvable by scripting or some mathematical calculations or something like that, something that requires you to program something, even if it's a Python script or C program or whatever. Sorry for that. Then server to keep everything up and running. Yeah, because there are some players that are, let's call them too ambitious. And at 3 a.m. they might be still up and trying to solve the challenge while you are asleep. And you don't want to end up with them calling you on your personal phone, telling you that the server is down, that they need you to reboot the server so they can actually compete and probably they win. Who knows? Okay, the approach, that's something that players should do. This is just, I'm explaining here based on the Fort Miners song, remember the name? So if you try to sing along with each bullet point, you'll get the song stuck in your head. But it's kind of true because you need luck and skills. Yeah, and to know how to use Stack Overflow. That's a skill, actually. You have to have the power and desire to accomplish and challenge everything and capture all of them. And yeah, if you have any pleasure that's more than 5%, you're doing it wrong. 50% pain means you got stuck. The 100% reason to remember the name, probably you're the winner. It's, yeah, that's the point. What happens in reality is exactly this representation of your laptop plus you watching 5 hours of YouTube tutorials, resulting in you being the actual hacker that you're not. So this is how you feel like. And basically you're just re-implementing the scripts presented on YouTube. Well, what I've seen being done in the past with that point, it's people either taking screenshots of the actual code written for the exploit and then using the OCR to have the code just copy-pasted. That's the lazy version. Or just put the paused video with the code in the screen on the left, and on the screen on the right, they have the notepad and just copy-pasting manually. That's, I feel like a student, but still, that's what happened. I've seen it. But yeah, that's the fun part. I mean, implementation and preparation are the, I don't know, it's the pain that I have to struggle with. But the fun that I have during the competition is that I've seen this type of behavior happening besides me. If you have no idea how to do it, you know you're stuck, you have no hints, you have nothing, they're like 10 minutes before everything ends up, brute force it. You don't have your laptop power, I don't know, it's not powerful enough. Use something in the cloud. Tired of trying harder. Why that? Because most of people ask for hints, even though the hints and clues are in the Flex description. So they ask you for hints, you say try harder. Anatol has a bot for that. So shoulder surfing is something that I saw, but not sure how to explain it. There was a guy sitting on a beanbag solving the challenge, and there was another guy that didn't know how to solve it, so he was just standing behind that guy with a laptop, taking notes. Then I was like, okay, didn't think of that as a write-up, but I really wonder how is he going to write that in his write-up. Like, how I found out about that clue, how I found out about that memory address. Well, there was a guy named Alex. And he nailed it. He reversed the file. And I was there watching him, making sure that he's on the right track. At some point, I thought like, hey, maybe that's the correct address. Maybe that's the point. Because no, I was sure that that's the right answer. So I just copied. Oh, yeah, and the write-up has like 4 bullet points. Like, I stood up, I saw Alex, I took notes, and then I submitted the flag. That's it. That's end of story. The best write-up ever. No, not even the screenshot of him watching Alex. Yeah, last but not least, that's the fun one. Social engineering is something that, well, I've seen people trying that. It's like trying to talk you into giving up hints clues, locations, or even the flag. So talking to you for 5 hours in order to find out that the flag is on the rules page, that he might have seen it if he went through the rules in 10 seconds. So he spent like half of the day for a single flag, and probably like 10 points. Yeah, this is the best way to describe this kind of people. It's, you can do that. I mean, where's the fun in that? Like, what's the story that you can tell after this? Okay, enough with theory. That's it. No. Demo time is just that stuff is there to remind me that I have to explain now one of the flags, but I have 2 flags, and if I have enough time, 3 flags. Okay. How many of you were at B-Sides last year? Okay, unexpected. Probably you might remember that. Where's the guy? No, I don't see you, but I see you. Yeah, the guy next to you. Yeah, probably you remember this. This was the last flag, which was kind of the hardest, and probably it's gonna be harder for me to explain it because it's mathematical stuff. My approach is give to the players a short description. First of all, you have to present the files that they're about to work with, descriptions, and the hints should appear after some certain amount of time. So I just put the hint here so we can see clearly everything. The thing is that the description usually is like, I don't know, this flag is from steganography category, and then you know exactly what you have to do. But in my case, I like to make up stories. You know, I feel like a journalist. So I create a story, and I just plan some hints alongside crafting the story, and basically I'm telling the player what to do, and when he finds something that he thinks he got stuck into, that's the hint that tells him where to go next, or what to do next. In our case, we have a long story. We're gonna get back to that description through the slides. We have a hint. We have to remember that it's 9, which is like 3 squared, 3 times 3, and 3 plus 3 plus 3. And we have, well, basically, sorry about that. We have 3 files provided, but only 2 files are going to be used. Well, what happens? I provided an image in 2 formats, bitmap and PNG. So having bitmap and PNG being lossless, would you think of that being from the category, which category? We have images. Yay, Stego. No, that's not gonna be Stego, but that's my try to play. It's like being an image is like, yeah, they're gonna try the LSB, and probably trying to see some, I don't know, pixels in the middle of a picture. Remember that, Lucian? Okay, and then we have the exe file, which is like Bucharest 2.67 beta.exe. I lack at naming conventions, judge me for that. So, first of all, we just double click on the exe file. It displays the best menu that you'll ever encounter in a CTF competition. It's like letting you choose what do you want to do next. I'm gonna skip the demo game because there's just, it's just something that randomly happens on your screen, but that's not relevant to the flag. And then there's the quit. Wonder what that does. Then you have show locations and show maps. As you can see, I selected show maps because I thought of, okay, Google Maps, wow. And then it asked me which map. And I was like, really, dude, don't do that. Being repetitive, I have to choose to every map, and I hoped in displaying it a map, or at least a location of a file or something like that. But instead, it displays, what are those? Awesome. First of all, people think that are pinpoints because they try to triangulate everything and pick only the center of them. But if you just put all of them in Google Maps, you'll obtain this. This is basically Bucharest. This is my neighborhood. And you can see I use the, where is it, the Drumul Taberei Park to write the letter G. It's because they don't have a metro station there. Yeah, keep it real. So those coordinates are writing on Bucharest map flag. Okay, that was it. I mean, there is no flag, that is just the word flag. And we can see something weird there. The F, it was supposed to be without that extra line there. Like here, it looks like a starting point flag. I have no idea. But still, an F, it's an F. Okay, then we have to choose show locations. And guess what? It says Plața Mall, Afi Mall, and Drumul Taberei Park. Okay, going back to the map, we notice that that's the locations of our letters. How does that help? Okay, end of story. The other option is quit. And no, by quitting, it's not going to reveal anything. So we have to move on to the images. Now comes the steganography part. The image, the bitmap is a 48 by 48 pixels. I know, you have to zoom it out. So we're gonna use that Huawei P30 Pro to do this. It's, yeah, so if you zoom it using your super expensive camera, you can see clearly now. So the thing is that looks like my brain, actually. That's, no. Yeah, my kidney, after I bought my iPhone. I know where you're going. So the thing that we can see more clearly in the smaller image is this one. The thing that we have a straight line from one corner to another. If we look on the zoomed one, we kind of see a pattern there, like being dots, rounded dots, squared dot at some point, but they're really in the very similar way, and they are keeping the pattern to keep the line straight. Yeah, it's a diagonal. Thank you. I like how he's watching. It's revealing time. Now we have to move forward, reading the pixels. Oh, what the hell is this? Okay, we read the pixels, being black and white. We have only from 0 to 255 values. And because, thank you, Notepad, this looks super weird. Okay, add or replace space with comma, put it into an Excel, and this is what you get. Now you can see clearly that pattern, and voila. Those pixels are looking super similar. So what we can see is that, what are those? Squares that are containing 9 pixels. Remember the hint? Magic number 9, 3 squared. 3 squared, it's basically a matrix of 9 elements. But what can we see here is that each matrix has the same values except for the upper left value. Everything else is the same all over the diagonal. Now comes the now comes the hardest part. I hated mathematics in high school, in college, in my life. I started drinking. Well, then I ended up in doing mathematics. So that's the hint. It says, hey, it's a matrix. That's the story. And this is where you see the hint. We have a matrix. It's a squared matrix. We have the keyword determinant value. What's the next step? Calculate the determinant. I'm lazy. I don't do it by hand, pen and paper. I'm just writing a script for everything. How do you think I got here? Okay, writing the determinant for each matrix of 9 elements. And we have on the left side, we have the actual value from that we got from the pixels. And the results, the determinant of each matrix is on the right side. Yeah, what we can see is that basically it's just, you have to subtract value 10. So just subtract 10 from everything and you obtain the results. Then you have numbers, which numbers can be translated to hex or ASCII. So if you translate it to hex, you're not gonna obtain anything because they're like non-human readable stuff, probably non-ASCII stuff, because I told you I was drinking, I had no idea what I'm doing. So we have to move and remove every hint we know so far. Exactly, slappy nibbles, who said that? Slappy nibbles. We know that the hex had 2 nibbles. You have two nibbles. What can you do with them? You just swap them. Swapping the nibbles results in, well, that's it. If you just try to move from hex to ASCII, it's gonna get you that weird non-human readable stuff. If you swap it and then move it from hex to ASCII, it's gonna say that besides is awesome. But because it is. And that was the actual flag. That was the hardest flag from this side. No one captured it, by the way. Demo take two. That's a bit. That's a funny one. Because this has no description, and it provides you with a keychain picture and an audio file. Would you start with? No, with the audio file. Thank you for trying. Okay, so we have a WAV file. Again, being a WAV file, not an MP3, means steganography-ish. Try to play the file. Double click on it, it results, the VLC media player said, Deep Purple when a blind man cries. That was the title of the file, okay? But that's the fun part. If you play it, there's gonna be the title. But the audio, that was the audio. How You Remind Me by Nickel. I know, hate me, Nickelback, I know. The verse, tired of living like a blind man. So the content did not match the title. Which means that's either a hint or something's wrong with me. Visible confusion. Anyway, that's like blind. Nah. We have no idea what to do with that. Moving on. Now comes the keychain. When you see this, is again steganography. Okay, what would you use to hit that image? Stake height, perfect. What is the password for stake height? No, it's just hit enter. Probably it works. I mean, when you create something with stake height, it asks you, hey, do you want a password or a passphrase? Oh, no, enter. Okay. And that's what you get. If you just use stake height with no password, because, well, admin, everyone tried it, so no password, nobody tries it, you end up with something that looks like binary. But you end up with it in this exact format with the spaces. And if you look close enough, that's why I wear glasses, there are 6 bits, not 8. So if you try to group them or regroup them into 8 bits, you're gonna end up with something that's not convertible, something that's not gonna end up in any human readable character, or if you have a keyboard in Russian, probably it's gonna show something, but otherwise no. Okay, who knows what this is? Huh? Yay. Braille, I suck at French, I don't know. It's Braille, yeah, anyway. That's the, okay, what's that? To make it look like a video game, that's the language of the blind. Huh? Make sense now? Without the confusion anymore, because we know what is. So we have the blind, so it's Braille. We have 6-digit binary, which is Braille. We have 2 options here. Either 0 or 1 is the white space and the black dot. You cannot do it. I mean, who knows Braille by default? Huh? Anyone? I knew it. Yeah, that looks exactly like the thing that it's on the pack when I go to the pharmacy store. You know, they give you the pills, and on the box it's like something like this. I don't. So if you translate it using the wikis, Google results, that's. And remember when I said that it's your choice how to format the flags? This is no flag dash something, so strings, regex is not gonna work on that. It has flag as a keyword, but it's in the it's in the middle. It's my playground. I decide the rules. Before Q&A, I still have time, so I want to show you a live stuff. It's a live demo of something that doesn't have solvers, because as I already mentioned, you can write a solver if the actual challenge requires some programming skills. Um, live demo time. Now, the thing is, I've been asked not to present SQL injection because everyone did that in the past. I mean, is there anyone that doesn't know how to do SQL injection, like how to type in apostrophe and hit enter? Or 1 equals 1 and hope to become root? Yeah, that might work because if it fits, I sits. I don't know. So the thing is that I like crypto and stego. So this is the steganography's equivalent of SQL injection. I mean, the most easiest stuff that you can do on web, you can also do on steganography on files. When you see a wave file and it's not giving you anything using steg height or LSB or whatever you want to use for the known stego stuff, you have to check the spectrum. So the spectrum is the trick that does it every time. And the app, it's Audacity. It's free, used by most of people. And if we just play the file, hope it's not going to hurt anyone's ears. Perfect. Okay. And yeah, Area 51, because it was a trend last month. And this is where I got the file. The thing is that the title this time doesn't say Deep Purple. It says My Name and the Unforgiven. I cannot be forgiven. So if we just go through, yeah, always make a copy before you modify a file. Just in case. So this is how the file looks from a audio editor perspective. And we try to play it again. It's not gonna do it. So we have to split it into tracks. Yeah, the first part is super clean now. And it's me playing the Unforgiven on my guitar because I got skills. Or I'd like to think so. And the second part is, okay, like any wedding ever. Yeah, still Unforgiven, but louder. After. So spectrogram does the trick here. Oh, okay, we see noise, we see Area 51 again. We have to reverse it. And well, at this point, only I can see stuff because I'm close enough to that. If we zoom, can we see the flag now? Well, that's the equivalent of steganography for SQL injection, like apostrophe enter and your admin. When steg height is not returning anything and all the known steganography techniques fail, use spectrogram. I really suck at ending presentation. That was it.